Hello, Valdosta. This is Let's Talk Valdosta podcast with Shara and Marcus. And today our special guest is our fire chief, Brian Boutwell. Welcome, Brian, to the podcast.
Thank you.
He's also a comedian part-time.
Yeah, part-time most of the time. First of all, we welcomed you to the show. I don't think we've sat down on a podcast with you.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to, but I was like, no, I'm not going to be the first one to say it. But like 2 years ago, you mind doing a podcast? No, I don't mind at all. And then
Crickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
The world happens.
I guess y'all like, we went through everybody we have to ask.
Yeah, but we apologize for that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You're a very important part of the Valdosta family, and
Right.
we feel really bad for leaving you out. But let's talk a little bit about the Valdosta Fire Department. Since we haven't had you on, let's start with the basics. Let's talk about yourself a little bit. How did you begin at the Valdosta Fire Department?
You know, that's an interesting story. It's probably too long for today. But, I was attending Valdosta State, and I got started in a volunteer department over in neighboring county. And just as a buddy did it, so thought I would do it. I fell in love with the fire service and I was an accounting major, if you can believe that. Don't tell Chuck Dinkins. But I was an accounting major, and, I was a couple different majors, but none of those worked out. And so I really fell in love with the fire service and kind of tried to do some bargaining with God on, I really want to make a lot more money than this. So if you'll let me make money, maybe I can volunteer or do something. So it really wasn't his plan. So I started applying at different departments. Valdosta really wasn't hiring at the time. And then 6 months to a year later, Valdosta had a hiring, and February 12th of 96, then I ended up as a Valdosta firefighter.
Yeah. And you have worked your way up to being the fire chief. You have been the fire chief for how long now?
June will be 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, what's it like to be the fire chief of the Valdosta Fire Department?
Well, I tell people you have to really figure out what validates you. So professionally, what validates you in 1996, February of 96, what validated me professionally was responding to fires and making a difference. I really didn't like for bad things to happen, but I did enjoy that part of the job. And as you move up through the ranks, you have to change your validation. That's not really part of my job anymore. I have some great men and women that take care of that. So my validation has had to change. And so that's really making sure that we continue to provide the service that our customers expect, and we maintain that fiscal responsibility with taxpayers' money. And then I'm a numbers guy. I don't know if that's a stem from the accounting thing, but people will ask, how do you know how well you're doing? And so we do a lot of analytics, and we use those as a report card, so to speak. So to answer your question, my validation now comes from being able to justify and get the things that my folks need to do the job that they do, because they're great. I mean, they do a really good job, and I'm not saying it just because I work there. I'm blessed to work with the folks that I do, and
They're very passionate about what they do.
they are. They really are, and the professional presentation they have. I mean, and I told them I wish I could tell you all the compliments I get on you, but anyway, I could brag on them all day. They do a really good job. They're very passionate about what they do, and so when I can get them the things that they need to continue to do that job, or get to provide things for them, that's my new validation. And so that's what it's like.
Now, the fire service has changed a lot since you first came in. How has this department as a whole adjusted to those changes over the years?
Well, we don't have horses anymore, but no. No, you're right. They say the fire service makes full circle, and so some of the things do make full circle, but it's amazing. Chief Alan Brunasini was chief of Phoenix, one of the most innovative fire chiefs in the nation, probably in history. And he said, firefighters don't like two things. That's change and the way things are. So we make
Can't have
sure
it both ways.
That's right. So we make sure that we validate what he said every day. But we do go through a lot of changes, and we have to. And with that being said, I think human nature's nobody really seeks a lot of change.
Yeah.
But our folks, Valdosta Fire, they, considerably speaking, when it's presented as this is what we do, and we show how it's going to improve efficiency, or it's going to improve safety, or it's going to the benefits of it, then they accept it a lot better, and they kind of roll with the change better than what probably most people could expect.
Okay. Now, you were bragging majorly on your men and women of the department earlier. I think there's sometimes a misconception about what those guys do every day. Can you talk about their schedule, during the week, what they're doing?
Yes, that is a huge misconception because, most of the time when the community interacts outside of an emergency, maybe it's in the fire station, or maybe it's when they're at a grocery store or something like that. So the perception could be, well, they left the station to go to the grocery store, which is not true at all. They have a regular work schedule. So they come in at 08, they clean their house, they make sure their equipment's squared away, and it's mission driven. So that's the first thing is what's our mission, and making sure we're squared away for that. By 9 o'clock, they're on the road, and they're scheduled. They're training or duty assignment, and the duty assignment, for example, right now is pre-fire planning. So businesses see them come through, and they'll ask to come in the business, evaluate the business, put a floor plan together, and then just identify hazards. And that's different than an inspection.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we clarify that. That's not a fire inspection or code kind of thing. This is, we're looking for things that would benefit us in the event of an emergency. So hazards, oxyacetylene in a shop, that's something we need to note. Doors and different things that would help us in the event of an emergency.
I mean, obviously, it's important if you know that building before you actually have to go into it.
Yeah, so related to sports, can you imagine you have a football game on Friday and you have the opportunity to go out and look at the other team's playbook and watch their plays and actually kind of visualize what you're going to do Friday against this team. That's kind of what we do. In the event we have a fire in this building, what's probably going to be the cause, what's going to do, and then learning the dynamics and just really learning that building. And then we get to document that. So en route, pull it up on the computer, and we have the playbook.
Yeah, you guys are constantly preparing, like you said, the pre-fire inspections and training. The training you guys do, I don't think people quite understand it. Yeah, just the other day we were at that live training burn. That's something that's not every day, but you guys are always training.
Right. And that's another thing. We get in when we talk about training so many times outside of this setting. We talk about ISO requirements, state requirements, continuing education hours. I'll be in Savannah at a Chiefs conference next week, getting my continuing education hours. But there's more to it than that with Valdosta Fire, and it's a paramilitary organization, and so I look at a lot of military leadership books for guidance, because if you can convince an 18-year-old to leave an armored vehicle, take cover, and return fire, certainly I can teach a 18-year-old to catch a hydrant and fight fire, right? So there's a lot of good tips come from that. And in military training, they don't go, we're going to execute this drill, and okay, we check the box, we've got it. And so we can't do that either. And so you train and you train and you train, then you determine what could go wrong, and you train until you can overcome that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it becomes muscle memory. I learned that when I got off the truck for a little while, and then I got back on the truck to help out. I realized how much of it was muscle memory and how much of that goes away with birthdays, but that's another story. But that's just how efficient they are. I mean, there's things that come natural, and I have a better appreciation of that now.
Because you're not doing it every day.
Right. So when I help, I fill in, I'll get on a truck. I have a true appreciation of what they do every day. You know, we run close to 5,000 calls a year, with a lot of those being fires. So other organizations say, yeah, we run, 10,000 calls a year, 90% of those medical. And I truly respect that. We're running 5,000, a lot of them being fire. So fully geared up, executing fire suppression. So I do have appreciation of how much of that is a muscle memory, how much of that comes natural for these folks that do it every day.
I want to add to that because there is also another misconception about how your department correlates with EMT. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so we've dabbled in emergency medicine my entire career. Probably when I came in, we were probably just starting, and we assisted, but CPR was basically almost the extent we were starting to get into the EMT level. But as an organization, we stayed on the medical first responder, and so as time went on, some of our personnel also worked for EMS. In fact,
Gotcha.
I ended up working for South Georgia Medical Center 16 and a half years on the ambulance part-time. And so that relationship really evolved between fire and EMS during that time. And those folks do a great job. They just run a lot of calls.
Yeah, and there's not enough of them.
It's right. It's taxing. So, I mean, to be honest, if an ambulance was called to every single incident that required an ambulance, then there's plenty.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a lot of calls that don't quite need an ambulance.
Probably not quite as emergent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the educational piece of that, a lot of folks are working on. But in the meantime, we've been able to really supplement SGMC. And then last year, in May of last year, we applied for our license through the state office of EMS. And so we got our medical first responder license as an agency. And so what that means is we're now, for the first time in history, is Valdosta Fire/EMS agency. Now, we're not a transport agency, and we're not by any means saying that we're doing the EMS work of South Georgia Medical Center. We simply just supplement what they have.
Yeah.
And so the efficiency to our customers is something that you can't really explain. The interoperability, the same equipment. And so when we initiate patient care and then the medics get there from South Georgia Medical Center, we blend in together. We may be driving the ambulance in for them, but we continue patient care, and it's really a great partnership.
Now, to move on to other subjects, we have a big day coming up on Friday. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on Friday?
Yeah, so we recently received a new apparatus, and this truck.
By apparatus, you mean fire truck.
Fire engine.
I was like,
A brand new fire apparatus engine, a.k.a. pumper. Really blessed to receive this piece of equipment. One of the things that I think has been overshadowed in the fact that we're getting a new truck is this is a demo. So what's that mean? Because most of us think of personal vehicles with a demo that, a salesperson drove it or whatever, and that's not the case with the fire engine. But it was already on the line being assembled. And it was really close to specifications, and we got a call and quick action of our city leadership and our elected officials. We were able to get that voted in to approve that purchase. Now, let me tell you how close that was. Our council approved it. I stepped in the hallway and made a phone call saying that we want the truck.
Yeah.
Had any department called prior to our call, they get the truck. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm very thankful for the quick action of administration allowing us to get on the agenda, and then of course council in their actions of approving that purchase. That brought the truck in, and so what that means, the build time is 2 years out. Now some manufacturers are 3 years out on engines. So
yeah.
So I think that's very important to mention. Mm-hmm. But I went to Alabama a couple weeks ago and did a final inspection on the truck. The truck looks good. They had a few things to do. We bring it in. Of course, we're getting equipment put on it. Chief Herpin's our logistics chief. He's working daily on the truck, getting it ready for Friday. And so Friday we'll be having a push-in ceremony, and that's a tradition. Fire services in honor of the days of the horse-drawn engines when they had to physically push the engines back in the bay. So we'll be doing a push-in ceremony and inviting the community out Friday morning to help us celebrate in not only a new truck, but to me it's special because of the quick action of everybody being willing to really, really trust me.
Yeah.
And
it
trust,
was a full city effort to get this truck here.
It was a lot of trust and a lot of we need it and so to get that truck. And what we're looking at is we had a 6 month wait time. We have 2 more getting built. We're still like a year and a half out on those. So very important that I don't brush past the fact that this was made possible by other people seeing the need and acting quickly. So with that being said, it's engine 8. It'll be in, and we're going to run it out of Station 1 for a little while. I'm excited. I can't wait to see that truck make its first run.
Yeah.
So hopefully Friday we'll see that happen.
So this is going to be engine 8. We currently have 7 stations at the city, and they're strategically placed within the city.
Correct.
How do we decide where those stations go?
I like what you did there. So 7 stations, engine 8. So I do hope that we're able to move forward with a Station 8. And so first I start analyzing a need because I do have a responsibility to be fiscally responsible with taxpayers' money, and that's one that I don't take lightly.
Yeah.
As a taxpayer,
Yeah, we all are.
I like to know where it's going. So first thing I do is I identify a need, and so and if you're a resident, your insurance gets graded on that 5 miles from a fire station, 1,000 feet from a hydrant. You get the Class 1 rating. I mean, that's the highest you're going to get. But when I'm evaluated as a fire department, they look at 1.5 mile response for engines, 2 miles for ladders. So that's one of the first things I do is just look at geographic. We've expanded on the north end, out the Bemis corridor, North Forest Extension area.
Have those little pockets up there.
Right, we do. So then I start looking at response times. I'm always saying, our door to yours in 5 minutes or less, and if not, I want to know why. And we're looking at that so close. We got a new analytics program that it's real time, and I can tell, how fast we're getting out of the house. I can tell how fast we're getting to these calls, and with the preemption devices in town, that's improved as well. But that area on the north end of town, we're still 8-9 minutes sometimes. And even though that's not a bad response time, that's not the service that we're accustomed to. So that's the second thing that I start looking at and analyzing. So we use our folks at RDC, South Georgia Regional Development, and they use the GIS programs and did maps. I have enough maps I can cover this room, but 4-minute response times, the 1.5 miles, the 5 mile, the 2 mile, and then, you guys get my monthly report, and we're starting to see more and more calls for service in that area. And then, the other thing we have to consider too is it's a very concentrated, high traffic area.
Absolutely, going up
That was
Bemis.
my next question.
So, so us going into that area, it's like Atlanta. Going into Atlanta in the mornings is terrible. Going out of Atlanta is not so bad in the mornings, right? So, having to have those services up there in the midst of that, and that's our service members usually up there that's populating that area, that's serving our country out of Moody. So, I mean, they're near and dear to us as well. So we start looking at our jurisdictions, start looking at our needs, start looking at our response times, and use all of the analytics together to determine exactly where the best location is to put another station.
Yeah.
I want to kind of add on that because this is becoming one of my pet peeves now that I live on the busy side of town. Can you emphasize the importance of, citizens moving out the way when they see emergency and fire trucks?
I can.
Because when I see that, I'm like, I'll look and I'm like, people really are not moving out the way, and it's really important that they understand that you have to move out the way. Like it's just not a negotiable.
That's a huge society shift too, you know. So I'll answer the question first. You know, everybody should be learning to merge to the right. We pass on the left. You know, people stop. That's not good because we have to negotiate. Just merge to the right, and that's a society shift thing. In most all of the 9/11 speeches I ever make is just amazing. Post 9/11, you know, everything just stopped. Even people on the street stopped.
Right.
Just to watch, and the respect for people that are responding was just unmatched to anything else in my entire career. As time goes on, we start forgetting those things, and our worlds get busy. I get that. Cars are more energy. I'm talking about houses now, but they're airtight.
Yeah.
Got better radio systems and those kind of things. It's
I'm
harder
sure that
to hear
doesn't help.
sirens.
Yeah.
So I get all that, but yeah, if we just remind folks just to merge to the right, stop, let us get by, then go on about your business. It would help us out.
Yeah. I see that issue
I see
all
a lot,
the time.
especially in the area I live. I see it a lot.
And I think, and I don't know if people just freak out or if they're in one of those, if you're on a 5-lane road where you've got a turn lane in the middle and 2 lanes
It could be
going
tricky.
both way. But everybody just move as far to the right as you can and get out of these service, you know, so police, fire, and EMS can get to, because they don't have that lights and sirens on for no reason.
Right.
But I do agree with you. I do think there's a gap in that because I know back in the day when I learned how to drive a long time ago, there was such an emphasis on that. So, whatever. There was a big emphasis on moving, you know, merging out the way, and now it's like I don't know if that educational part is still there for new drivers.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I don't know that, you know, I think it is a lot new drivers, but I've ridden with your guys. I've ridden with Chief Manahan's guys and girls, and I've seen it in both for police and fire, and I know it happens for EMS too.
Yes, for sure.
But that's just something that we as citizens have to do, to have to acknowledge, hey, these people are going to an emergency when they got that lights and sirens going, and we need to do what we can to be good citizens and move out of their way.
I agree.
But sometimes it might be a fear factor too. I know that there's been times where I'm like, oh my God, they're right behind me. And I was like, where did I go? And then so it takes me a second to realize, okay, let me move out the way safely. That caused another accident. So,
well, we've been going a good little while here. Is there anything else you want to know? What you want to tell people about what's going on with Valdosta Fire Department, and what you guys do, or
maybe something you're really proud of this past year?
Yeah.
There's so much.
Our ISO.
Yeah, our ISO. I'll be hanging on to that for a while. You know, it's remarkable again what our folks have done, because you know we kind of got passed over. Like we maintained Class 1, congratulations, but I think that it's worth mentioning that we maintained Class 1, but we also improved our score.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't come easy. There's a lot of hard work. Our folks did really, really good. Our communication center, Lowndes County Communication Center, is unmatched. I mean, there's that they don't get enough recognition, and I think that I mean, just I talked to other people, other chiefs across the state and other areas, and that's a phenomenal group down there on Madison Highway, and I say dispatchers as a whole. I know I got way off subject, but dispatchers as a whole, you know, they're in a building, got a small window, receive information, process information, and send it out.
Yeah.
And you know, I never thought about it till I heard one of them say it's like watching a movie and you get to the plot and cut it off.
And
I was like, wow,
because they don't get to see the end.
They don't get to see the end. So, you know, those folks are great, and I brought that up because they're part of the process of grading too, and they top out every time, so they're a big part of our grade, and everybody, Lowndes County, Hayhire, Lake Park, all of the services that benefit from Lowndes 911, they get that. So, I just feel like they deserve a lot of recognition for the job they do.
Okay. I guess there's one more thing I want to quickly tap on before we get out of here today. But that is, you guys are like always looking for new people at this point in time.
We are.
If I want to be a member of the Valdosta Fire Department family, what do I need to do? What does it take to wear that uniform?
Well, people can see what he's doing.
We're actually, I'm getting close to talking to HR and opening that process up. You guys know we got a recruit school going on now. We got a recruit school with got 11 people in it right now, and one from Moultrie, 2 from Quitman. So very proud of the training staff, Captain Davis, and everyone out there, because other departments are trusting us with their people, and that. I know that's not what you asked, but so we have 8 of those are ours.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to opening that process up again, and so they just watch our website and Facebook.
Yeah.
And you get the packet. It tells you everything to do. And I recommend everybody do the practice test. We'll have a test day. Come out and you do the test on the computer. You find out how you did just right then. Take you over to the drill field, and you can practice the physical agility test, or you can knock it out. I found out Ellie Rodriguez, she's the one, that made me go, hold on a minute. There's been others, but she was the one that they said, she just smoked the test. And I was like, it doesn't make sense to make her come back in and test.
When she just passed it.
Right. So if they come out on practice day and they do it within the
thing about Ellie, she's like this tall. She's like barely 5 foot.
Don't mess with her though.
Yeah, but she's tough.
Yeah, don't mess with her. So, but I go, we can streamline this process a little bit. And so she kind of made me start thinking about that. So folks come out, if they go ahead and knock out that physical agility test, they're done, come back for an interview. If they struggle with something, we have staff on site to say, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you do. And then we have them come back in about 2 weeks and test. And so once we get through that process and interview with my command staff and fire suppression folks, then we move forward and we do all the training here. So it's just like going to Georgia Fire Academy, being here. We have adjunct instructors, and you go to school here 13, 14 weeks typically, and then you come on shift.
Well, I think that's about all we have for you today. First of all, I want to thank you for sitting down. I know you have an extremely busy schedule. You've got your 2 phones sitting next to you. But we appreciate everything that your department does to serve the citizens of Valdosta.
Yeah, thank you guys too, because nobody would really know what we do or how we do it unless they encounter us during an emergency. But you guys, this team here, does a great job representing us on Facebook and through podcasts and YouTube and different videos. So you guys tell our story. So thank you very much for what you guys do.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, that's it for now. Maybe next time we'll have the police chief on for the next podcast. Thank you, Valdosta, and that's a wrap.
Let's Talk Valdosta is a presentation of the City of Valdosta's communications team. You can download this episode and previous episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow the City of Valdosta's social media accounts to learn about future episodes.